First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Ted, and the Dutch National Ballet for inviting me here today. It's a great responsibility and a great honor to speak to this esteemed audience on diversity in ballet. I was a ballerina. I am still Black. And in 2015, I founded Memoirs of Blacks in Ballet, which curates the story of Black ballet dancers around the world, because we're still like unicorns, and I wanted to make the invisible visible. So diversity has become an international hot topic. The conversation is cyclic, like Halley's Comet, and it's circular. We keep going around and around and ending up in almost the same position. We have yet to achieve what I call sustainable change, which would render meetings like this unnecessary. And my theory is that it's in the way we're having the conversations. It's like Einstein's theory of insanity. We keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now, I know that in Europe, Asia, and Russia, well, we're dancers, so I know that in Europe, Asia, and Russia, the history and demographics are quite different. And so this might be a new subject. But in the States, we've been running into this issue over and over again, hammering away and missing the nail for years. Today, I would love to share with you some of my observations about the way we have these discussions. In America, conversations about race and diversity have become corporatized, sanitized. Under the auspice of political correctness, we talk around the subject, but we're not afraid of offending, we're afraid of the confrontation. We tend to intellectualize the subject because when you stay in your head and disconnect from your heart, you extract the humanness from the issue and it becomes like a math problem you have to solve. We go through the motions not fully invested or committed. In dance, we call that marking. For the most part, people leave convenings like this feeling good about themselves for having participated, and they're a little relieved because they leave unscathed and unchallenged. And if that's the case, then what is the point? Are we just going through the obligatory motions to save face or to save our brands? What we in America are starting to realize is that the root of this conversation is bias, racial, gender, sexual orientation. These biases are systemic, and they are chronic issues that are configured into the foundation of our nation. They are caustic and corrosive, and not the best of what we have as human beings. Yet, it's our reality, and that's a bitter pill for us to swallow. People like to think that art reflects the best of humanity. Well, art is just a microcosm of the world formed in its image, reflecting the same ethics and values, just with sparkles. In America, some are sick of this conversation, irritated at having to have it at all, and I get that, trust me. Black people are tired of talking about it too. Many people think that it's not their problem, but then they're the only ones that can fix it. Many feel that it's a trend, but it's not a trend, it's my life. Today I propose that we try this a whole different way and maybe we'll get a different result. But first, I'm going to offer a trigger warning. As we discuss these difficult topics, we will be triggered. We might recognize ourselves in unflattering statements. Our pain might come out of somebody else's mouth. You might feel blamed, responsible, or powerless. Let's take the challenge to stay open. Let the information land in that tender space that seldom sees light. Let it settle in the folds of your humanity and let it take root. It will feel like a grain of sand in an oyster, irritating and uncomfortable, but let it slowly be transformed into a thing of beauty. As we discuss these messy topics, I ask that we resist the urge to justify or defend or excuse. Instead, just listen and entertain the possibility that there is a reality that you are not privy to, that you can neither see nor feel. It is real, it may not be yours, but it is valid. I ask that you take the frustration and anger as emotions not directed at you, but being presented to you, human to human, for your consideration. I ask that you trade your skepticism for empathy and your cynicism for compassion. Evoke empathy and let that empathy allow your eyes to change. Let them take in this divergent perspective. Now the question is, how much is ballet's identity wed to its heritage, and does that heritage leave space for diversity? Having originated in the courts of Europe, ballet was, and in many ways still is, an elitist art form rooted in privilege and exclusion. As we discuss access and participation in ballet, we should ask ourselves, if the original rules were applied to this room today, how many of us in this room would have been eligible to participate? As ballet became a nationalistic representation, a representation of nationalistic pride, the bodies of the people were employed to carry the message. Schools were open and commoners granted access. Thus, it made sense that the national ballet companies looked a certain way. They looked like the people of the country. However, when nations began to colonize and import people of color without thought to how that would affect their demographics, well, things got a little tricky. Now, no matter how unintentional, there are bodies of color that are a part of the natural and cultural fabric. So if the heritage of ballet is as a nationalistic representation, then it would stand to reason that these colorful threads be woven in. Countries that are products of the unintentional diversification of its citizens are in the midst of an identity crisis, trying to reconcile what they were, are, and more importantly, what they're going to become. It's a battle against the inevitability of change. The resistance to diversification or integration is about maintaining an identity, a heritage of pre-brownness. Winston Churchill said, "History is written by the victors." Well, in this case, the victors are the men who constructed the foundational tenets of our countries, the people who identified what it was to be French, American, Russian, English, or Dutch. The people who assign value to everything, including standards of beauty and art or characteristics like intelligence, elegance, and refinement. They decide who gets to participate and on what level. Now, it's abundantly clear that the people who brought those brown bodies to foreign shores never intended them to become citizens, to have rights, a voice, or to participate on any other level beyond the purpose they were brought to fulfill. People of color were never supposed to be members of society, let alone represented. Therein lies the real problem. We, the people in this room, are the residual effects of the sins of the fathers of our nations. We are not the creators of the problem, but we are the products of a system that we are participating in and perpetuating by default. This heritage that we hold with such sanctity is both the beauty and the bias. The questions that you artistic directors have to ask yourselves are you writing fiction or nonfiction in regards to your national identity with your company, Are you sustaining a false narrative that supports an incomplete representation of your nation? Are you aware that the resistance to diversity feels like a commitment to whiteness? Are you still with me? Yeah. That was a lot, okay. It's okay. Wait, let me get some water. Okay. I'd like to close by painting a human portrait. As an African-American woman, I've been asked many things by white people about my race. I've been asked why Black people are so angry. Why are there so many Black people in prison? And Lord knows I have been asked about my hair. But the one thing that I've never been asked is what it feels like to be Black in America or the world at large. I've never been asked what it feels like to inhabit spaces that were never intended for me, or to almost never see myself reflected in the standard of beauty, or elegance, or intelligence. Okay, well, Michelle Obama might have single-handedly taken care of that. But that's another problem. Barack and Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey are all looked at as exceptions to our race. As an African-American ballerina, as an intellectual, articulate woman, I represent the exception and never the rule. This is how the victors wrote my character in history. No level of articulation can express how stressful it is to live in a brown body. The amount of pressure is indescribable. Black ballet dancers carry the weight of our race on our backs into the studio. Every pirouette, every arabesque represents our race's collective ability to become professional ballet dancers. If one fails, doors close for others. We're raised knowing that we must not only be good, but be better just to be considered equal. And then our talent and our specialness gets attributed more to our pigment than to our performance and the novelty of our presence in that space. Now consider the courage it takes for students of color to enter a ballet school, that world of whiteness, to be the only one in a class or the only one in a school. Actually, I don't want you to think about it. I want you to drop down into your heart about it. I ask you as directors, are the aesthetics of ballet purely about technique and artistry, or do those elements have to come in a form that you can identify with, something that looks like you? What are your eyes seeing when that technique and artistry comes presented in varying shades and shapes? Is it a coincidence that most of the Black female ballerinas that have been accepted into major white ballet companies have been fair-skinned? From Raven Wilkinson, Deborah Austin, Francesca Hayward, to Misty Copeland. They are easy on the eyes. The Lauren Andersons of Houston Ballet or the Michaela DePrinces, they're few and far between. The rainbow unicorns. The width and breadth of this conversation is as dense as the history that begot it. So what do? Start where you have sway. We all have a sphere of influence, be it your family, your friends, your company. Use your life as a barometer. How much diversity exists in your personal or professional life? If it's not up to the standard of change, then open it up. Seek out and have conversations with people who don't look or sound like you, who don't agree with you and challenge you to grow. Proximity promotes familiarity. Familiarity eradicates fear. You cannot diversify if you are afraid of the people that you are being asked to include. We are all remarkably the same and uniquely singular, and that is the beauty of humanity. Our sameness bonds us, our differences make us better. Creating diversity is not hard. It does not cost money, and you don't need to draft an initiative. All you need to do is let people in. Thank you.